Hi, my name is Ilene Rein. I'm an executive recruiter and a job search strategist. I am here with Gretta Zutz. We are doing a whole video series on for career professionals as to what to do if you're going to your next job or all of a sudden you find yourself unemployed or laid off from a job, about health insurance, about financial planning, retirement, 401k, budgeting and savings for your emergency funds. Today, we're going to talk about tax implications and how this affects you. Greta, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm Gretta Zutz. I'm with Center for Wealth Preservation. We're a financial planning firm. We're holistic, meaning we help clients with the whole package of their financial world. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Gretta Zutz there. If there's more than one, it's me, but it's me. And also at Center for Wealth Preservation, and my QR code is here.
Fantastic. We're both unicorns. I'm the only Ilene Rein on LinkedIn. Okay, I think in the world actually. So this is wonderful. So before we continue, I want to remind everyone to subscribe or follow to get alerts every time we post content like this to help career professionals navigate through this journey called life, I guess, is what it really is. So today we're talking about the tax implications. So what happens if all of a sudden you find yourself unemployed? What happens in terms of employment benefits and tax credits?
Absolutely. So again, we've said this in our other videos. Eileen mentioned, we talked about health insurance, other employee benefits, rollover, and we had this through line of really relying on an individual to be your professional, to be your advocate. As you start to research what that means to have a planner or an advisor, you might find that the trend is advisors are charging for advice. This is a good thing. This is that thing that you might want to explore even while still at that job before something like a layoff or a job change happens. When unemployment occurs and you're eligible, it's usually pretty easy to figure out how to claim those benefits. Usually that job is going to help walk you through how to claim those benefits if you're eligible. Most often we don't find that people don't know if they're eligible or not eligible. Sometimes if it's been a very short tenure into that job, maybe that will play into what's available to you or how much is available to you. And also if you're waiting on like a future paycheck of a bonus or some type of distribution, that might play into this. But you really want to make sure at the time of unemployment that you know how to file the forms, get the forms. And we find that the previous employer is usually pretty good about doing that because they might be having to reconcile on their side as well. So it's in their best interest to give you that information. Again, if you're working with a professional, and I highly advise this for everyone at every level, talking to someone who's their advocate. Then we also find that this next layer of your accountant, your CPA, your enrolled agent, it might be okay right now at your current job, if you haven't yet left that job or been terminated, to be doing your tax return filing on your own. TurboTax or those other companies might be wonderful. There's walk-in places you can go, Tax Time. We know we see them pop up. That might be perfectly okay for where most people are. But at some point, as you enter into more complexities being something like a mortgage, or maybe at the time of a marriage and you deciding how to file, you hear these terms, filing jointly, filing separately, head of household. When life becomes more complicated, good or bad, it might be time to retain another professional. I am not a CPA, I am not a tax expert, I'm not an enrolled agent, but working with someone who can really help you at this time and beyond is extremely advisable from someone like me. So in the interim, maybe this time of year that you have a job termination is not necessarily the time of year you want to go spend money on a tax professional, but we still highly advise it. When unemployment happens, what do we just say? Usually it's very easy to file those forms, to figure it out, to get the forms, but then we'll come up with the question of, what am I withholding? I want to make sure that when I get that tax form, when you get the unemployment form, all unemployment income is taxable in the year it was paid out. And you might not be expecting that. So if you had a certain job at a certain income level, and then you received some unemployment, and then you worked with Ilene to get your next dream job and you're making even more money, you might be subject to more tax than you were thinking about because you might have gone onto a new tax bracket with your income. And we've seen it with people that have retained us for work after this happened, that they got an unexpected tax bill because they didn't factor into the unemployment income that they earned and how to reconcile that. So it's okay to withhold a smaller amount from your unemployment and then know that you have to owe. That's okay. But you want to make sure you have that money where? We talked about it, in your savings, in your emergency fund, maybe even in a whole separate fund. It's okay to owe. You don't need to necessarily get a return every tax year, but making sure you have the funds available so you don't enter into fees and penalties is extremely important. And I don't know that we all are calculating the tax brackets each year to see where our income falls. So I can't impress upon everyone enough that finding a good professional, maybe through your financial advisor like us, or a CPA is really the most important thing because it is very individual in a situation.
And yeah, we know a number of people that we can refer that are trusted people to us that we refer all the time. This is incredibly important because especially when all of a sudden you find yourself unemployed, the first thing you do is, okay, let me take a look at my finances. And it's to their benefits to reach out to a professional, not only financial wise, but also from the job search side. So this way we can get them employed again. And job searching expenses are sometimes tax deductible depending on the state. And I always defer to asking your accountant. But I know that I have many people who are in my job searching program that they're using it as a tax benefit. So highly, highly recommend reach out for those professional services. So this way you get the expert advice. So this way you know how to move forward.
That's a wonderful point, Ilene. And also, if you're someone who has maybe a secondary source of income, maybe you're a W-2 employee and you intend to be a W-2 employee again, but you have a secondary source of income through a consulting business or something where you have your own LLC, there might be even more layers of tax deductibility for some of our other videos that we talked about. If you're paying for your own health insurance, if you're paying for your own life insurance or disability insurance, that's a case-by-case basis, but that might also be some form of deductibility, maybe not always as a W-2 employee, but maybe on your other business or source of income. And if you're getting advice for your financial plan, that might be another layer of deductibility. So again, I don't want to make too many sweeping statements as an advisor, but what I want to say is having all your ducks in a row as far as like tax credits, knowing what's available to you. Don't rely on the online search for this. You might get very confused by the tax forms and 1099-G and all these 10-4. What does that all mean? Again, find yourself a professional. I think one thing we could talk about, Ilene, is you mentioned it a little bit, but how does someone find this professional? Often, if you get laid off or terminated April 13th, might not be the best time to find yourself a good tax professional. They might have a queue of a waiting room. So it's not a bad idea. Someone said to me once, when you're moving, make sure you find a vet for your dog right away, a primary care doctor, a pediatrician, a new hairstylist. I was like, oh, I'm getting overwhelmed. But there's just certain things, think of it like that. What you would line up if you were moving. And that actually could be something you and I could talk about as the professionals and where to find those professionals. And that's one other point too. Often when someone's changing jobs, we find that there's other things changing in their life. They're going to move to a new state for that new job. They're going to move to a new address, and making sure that everything is lined up with your information, that you have current addresses on everything, because some of these things do come by mail. And also just a PSA to be aware of what is out there in terms of like cyber scam and things like that. The IRS is, we know not going to contact you with a phone call and a late night text. Don't respond to that. So making sure your mailing address is updated and correct is another layer of protection.
You're bringing up a great point. And on my YouTube channel, there are a lot of videos about job scams that have been going on. And I know for a fact that people who have been watching them have been protected. There have been people who have come forward to tell their stories about identity theft, about bank accounts being broken into. So you really want to be careful when it comes to your finances and reach out to a professional. How do you find them? Ask someone. You can contact Greta, you can contact me. We have some referrals that we can certainly make. You can, and certainly with all this financial information that you've been giving us today, Greta, you are a great resource to take care of the insurance, to take care of the financial planning. And then if someone needs that accountant to take care of those tax issues, you certainly, I'm sure, partner and collaborate with many of them.
Absolutely.
Okay. This has been a great series. If you are interested in following and taking a look at these videos, please go back and watch about health insurance and what to do if all of a sudden you're switching jobs. You found yourself unemployed, what are you going to do? We also discussed life and disability insurance. Incredible video. Definitely check that one out. We talked about 401k. What are you going to do with that 401k once you're unemployed or you're switching jobs, and how to roll that over? Greta gave some great information on that. We discussed emergency funds and how much should you really have. And now we've talked about tax implications. Greta, thank you so much for doing this series with me. I know that the career professionals who are watching this are going to get great value out of your content. I hope they will reach out to you and have you advise them through this process.
Thank you so much, Ilene. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And I just want to end on the fact that everyone has a right to this information. It doesn't matter if you've been in the job market for a year or 40 years. This is your right. You get to ask the questions and control what happens with your future, professionally and personally.
Thank you so much, Greta. My name is Ilene Rein. I'm an executive recruiter and a job search strategist. Career professionals, good luck in your career journey.